This is the hardest exam you can take in the Welsh language, or at least this is a sample paper of that qualification. In this video, I'm going to be attempting this exam without having familiarized myself with the format or the requirements, so I could just as well fail as I could pass it. And I mean, I'm taking the actual exam in 6 weeks' time, so it's about time. Granted, this is only a B2 because some of you might be expecting a C level or a proficiency level test. And I'm sorry to inform you that the tests only go up to a B2. But despair not, because it's actually a higher level than many people seem to think. But that's a whole different topic that I want to make a video about someday. Not today. Since 2-ish months ago, I've been actively studying ahead of my current Welsh class. I'm also doing it on stream, so if you want to see me study and talk to me, subscribe now and join my weekend streams. The so-called advanced level of Welsh, or uwch, comprises 3 sub-levels, each one supposedly taking 2 years. I'm currently on the second half of the first level, whereas I've been self-studying the first half of the second level. This is supposed to be when you finish the whole thing. So in terms of expectations, I feel like I might be fine because I use Welsh quite often in my daily life, but I might struggle a bit. I have taken a quick look at the paper before while I was on stream, but I haven't tried doing any of it. Like, haven't looked at the questions either. I have no idea what they're testing or looking for, so I'm basically going in blind. So welcome to Rhapsody Lingo. My name is Israel, and without further ado, press the like button and let's start the exam. I am going to go ahead and start with the listening paper because apparently it's the first one in the file, so I'm just going to go for it. It accounts for 15% of the entire grade. And there are 3 parts to this 60-minute exam. Of course, I've got the audio here, so let's go and play it. Just going to write my name here like it's the actual thing. Rhif arholiad. I don't have a number, so I'm just going to put whatever. 2137. Canolfan. It is, I forgot the name, but I think it's in Wrexham. Obviously, it's a listening exam, so I'm gonna take my pencil.
Cybac.
Cybac.
Uwch mewn Cymraeg ail iaith defnyddio'r Gymraeg.
So, it turns out that I messed up my time lapse big time, so you got 1 second of me doing an exam for half an hour. And yes, it only took half an hour because when I do my listening exams on my own, if I feel like I'm ready to move on, I just skip ahead because I'm like, oh, what's the point of waiting for 2 additional minutes when I'm already done? So I learned some things about this exam by doing it. First of all, it gives me everything 2 times, so that's really good because I was worried I'd only get it 1 time. And it is not easy. I did use all my usual listening exam tricks, the ones that I teach my English students. Like, for each question, I'd circle 1 thing and underline 1 thing. The thing I circle is a thing that tells me the upcoming thing is related to this question. For example, a time in the 1970s. So when I hear in the 1970s, I know it is about this question. And I underline the part that is most crucial to the answer. For example, why, what did they do, etc. Another thing that I noticed was that this is really looking for deep understanding, not just surface level copywriting things. Because first of all, the first 2 parts are open questions. And when I say open questions, I mean really open. For example, what makes them different? And it is kind of an abstract thing. You have to understand the whole thing to find the most important points that you need to write down. So if you're looking for something really obvious, like they say this phrase and you just write down that phrase, it's not going to be that easy. And then the third part, it's multiple choice questions, but it also requires some deep understanding because it's more about their attitude, or like you're trying to summarize what they are saying, even though you're summarizing it through multiple choice. So it is certainly harder than I thought. And there were some questions that I completely missed the main point of. But the one thing that surprised me after I checked the answers is that the answers are quite often simpler than I thought, or shorter, because each answer is worth 4 points. So when I see 4 points, I'm thinking, oh, you might need like 2 main points or even 4 main points in your answer. But quite often you just write 1 thing, and as long as you have that main point, that most important point in the answer, you get the 4 points. TLDR, I need to understand it really well, but also I don't have to write a lot to get the points. And the last thing that I learned is that I need to improve my handwriting. I haven't done an exam by hand in so many years, and my handwriting is horrible. Anyway, I don't think I need to look at how many points I need to pass because I got most of it correct, so I'm gonna be fine, I think. I got 54 out of 60, so I'm fine. I'm probably fine. Okay, next. Let's move on to the reading, because it's the only other paper that I can check my answers for. Alright, I'm back after a long break. I got a coffee. I got a weird paper cut for some reason, very mysterious. And I'm gonna go and close the window because it turns out that the sounds from outside are really distracting. Anyway, the listening test was a bit harder than I expected, but now I've got reading, which I can take more time. I can do it at my own pace, so hopefully that's gonna be easier potentially. But we'll find out. And for this one, I'm actually going to have to set a timer. And hopefully I'm going to do the time lapse right this time. And that's the reading paper done. I did it in just half the time given, again. I feel like overall this is a bit easier, at least to me, than the listening exam. There is a bit of deep understanding required, but I guess because I get more time to think about what's being written, I can achieve that level of understanding more easily. For example, there is one question that asks what two letters agree on, so I get time to look through the letters again and again and find out what they have mentioned and what they have agreed on. So that's easier. There are quite some words I don't know, which is to be expected because I'm not using Welsh in a very literary manner all the time. But I feel like most of them I was able to deduce the meaning of, or I could just move on without understanding that one. I'm gonna go back and look up those words afterwards, just as a learning experience. There was one question that was particularly interesting and that needed more thinking, which is a question asking how long this guy is going on holiday, and there is no mention of this whatsoever. So I looked through that part of the passage several times without getting anything out of it, and then it clicked. The passage says that he has to answer one question per day, and he has 14 questions. So there's some tiny maths involved there. You have to actually get what's happening to answer the question. Once again, it's 4 marks per question, but now I know better. And it actually tells you, you don't have to write that much information. It's just get to the point, and then you get the 4 marks. And yes, I've been trying to write with better handwriting. It's not easy, because I haven't been a student, a school student for years, but I'm trying. One thing that's noteworthy is that it does use the full range of grammatical forms that this language has. In my video about how Welsh is easy, I mentioned that when you're speaking Welsh, you don't have to know all the grammar. You can use the simpler forms or simpler ways of expressing something. But in written formal Welsh, especially in letters and literature, people do use very advanced forms of verbs. For example, using the future tense as a present tense, or using the impersonal forms, which means it should be done, for example, instead of we should do. These are things that I haven't reached in my course yet, but I've learned through just looking at the dictionary and reading books. So I'm quite lucky that I've done those. While I was doing this paper, I was also thinking about strategy, whether I should read the text first or read the questions first. And I tried reading the questions first, and I realized they make no sense without having read the text already. So what I ended up doing in the end was reading a bit of the text and then reading one question. So just reading ahead, slightly ahead, so I know what the next question is, and then I look for the answer in the text, and then I read the next question, and so on and so forth. And in general, from my experience in language exams, they do ask the questions in the order of the text. So yes, I think that works out. I think my exam instincts have really helped me a little bit there. I'm very happy with how I've done so far. Wait, hold on, I need to check the answers. Things just got very interesting after marking. I mean, the multiple choice was very cut and dried, but the part where I have to write things, that's interesting because the model answers have greatly rephrased what was in the text. From the way that I was brought up in exams in Hong Kong, I always try to keep the phrasing as close to the original as possible. But it seems like they do want you to change up some things to like simplify or streamline the meaning in the sentence. For example, there was an answer where the text actually says, 2 smaller halls will be adapted for the needs of the students. Whereas the model answer just says, the students will move to 2 other halls. So there is some information that is being left out, and apparently that is fine as long as the main point comes across. So that's interesting. So maybe I will have to rephrase things a bit in my exam, or maybe I won't have to. There were also some questions that required a deeper understanding than I initially thought. For example, the text says the name of the hall will have to change, and that is an idiom that apparently means heartache. And I did not know this idiom. I mean, I could guess probably, but it didn't draw my attention. So that idiom actually expresses the writer's attitude or opinion. So I missed that one. I couldn't get what the writer actually thinks about the situation because I didn't know that idiom. And there's another one that is even harder, where the question asks, where do the students come from? The text says the students come from beyond Cloud Offer. I didn't know what this is. I just assumed it's a place name, or it is a fake place name potentially. And it turns out Cloud Offer, or in English Offa's-Dyke, is the border between Wales and England. Like, what the hell? How am I supposed to know that? That's a geography question. I guess maybe Welsh people use that to express in a poetic way the map of Wales or something. I don't know. If you speak Welsh, please do let me know whether you have used that expression before. That is weirdly specific to me. It's like calling Britain blighty or something. But anyway, that's just only 4 points. I mean, I'm a bit lenient on myself, but also I think I would have passed. Let me check how many points you need to pass. Okay, I can't find how many points you need to pass. I just assume it's either 50 or 66 or something. I think I'm fine. I will be fine, at least, when I actually do it. Now that I know what to expect. And while I was trying to look for that piece of information, I also found out that there is an exam schedule. I thought it's not out yet, but turns out it was there all this time. It was like in the specification of the level. So it turns out the exam starts at 9:30 until 3 o'clock. And it goes from language use, and then writing, and then listening, and then reading. So I've been doing this in the wrong order at all this time. Who cares? But you know what? That means that I should go to the use of language next, because I'm trying to follow the exam order as closely as I can, which is also good because I'm procrastinating on the writing exam. I can't be asked to write. You know, I will have to, but I don't want to do it yet. I'm going to do the language use next. Also, it is good to know that it starts at 9:30, so I'm definitely going to have to go to Wrexham the day before. So, let's go. Well, this was interesting. I would say half of it was easier than I expected, and half of it was harder than I expected. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. Is it grammar or is it idioms? Because I looked at a C1 Polish paper, and there was a section that was explicitly asking for idioms. It turns out there are quite a few idioms here, but like it's not very advanced idioms. It's mainly like the ones that you learn on Duolingo, like the ones that mean like stop doing something or find something. So it's basic idioms. There's also quite some collocations, like what preposition comes after this word, or what adjective would you use in this context, etc. I had trouble with, for example, spelling. There was one that asked for the plural of husband, and I didn't know where to put the accent on the word. Or like, how would you describe the sea? Is it bad? Is it difficult? Or is it rough? And so on. My favorite part was the first section, which asked you to rephrase something using a specific word. So it forces you to use a certain collocation or a certain expression to say something. And the last part was definitely the hardest, where you're just filling in the blank with from the context and nothing else, no help whatsoever. So you gotta guess what they're trying to get at. There's like a few blanks where I have completely no idea what it's trying to say. And also some interesting idioms. So let me check the answers and I'll tell you how I did, I guess. Yeah, as I thought, the last part was massacre. Relatively speaking. Yeah, I got a lot wrong. I had to do a lot of guessing. I guess in summary, with this kind of paper, testing your knowledge of expressions and grammar, if you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, you don't know it. There's no guessing. So I'm glad I did okay. I guess I did about as well as could have hoped for, even though it's not ideal. Like, there are some questions that look really easy but aren't. And I also find it really poetic that the last answer in this paper was hiraeth, you know, the most Welsh word there is. Anyway, I'm gonna take a break and probably get ready for a stream before I do the writing exam. So see you afterwards. Chat, I'm back. I'm back, chat. I say chat because I just finished the stream on the Sunday stream. I played the game in Polish. So, good news. My brain is now completely in Polish when I'm about to do a Welsh test. And this is going to be, I think, the last paper for this video because I will explain later. But if you haven't been to the stream and if you want to support me and what I do, not just in terms of like the work I put into making these videos, but also just supporting my language learning, which again, that's going to lead to more videos and language learning content and like teaching everything. If you want to support me, you can always become a channel member or, you know, give a super thanks, super chat, anything you want. I will be very appreciative. Thank you. But that's a writing exam. Apparently you've got 90 minutes, but I don't think I'm gonna need that because if I understand correctly, basically I have to write a total minimum of 380 words in Welsh. Like, in my English exam in school, right, I would write like 1,000 words in the same amount of time. So I'm probably not going to need that. We'll see. I haven't looked at the questions yet, not a cheater. Also, another thing is that this paper doesn't come with the answer sheet. Well, by answer sheet, I mean just, you know, the lines that you write on. But don't worry, I have my own. And in the real one, they're going to have the sheet to write on. So I'm going to get on with it. It has been a very long day. I've done 3 papers at this point, and also I've done like 2 hours of gaming in Polish. It was a puzzle game, so it was very brain intense, but you know what? I persevere, because that is how I get the results. By results, I mean like just the results, not necessarily good results, but just the results. So anyway, let's go. And there we go. I've done it. I've done the whole thing. The whole thing took me, I think, 60 minutes. So also half an hour less than I was given. Definitely took longer than I thought because it's 2 pretty short pieces of writing. But the main thing I've learned is that my correction tape is really freaking broken. I haven't used it for like a decade, I think, and now that I suddenly try to use it, it just won't work. It was like half broken when I started using it, and then I spent like a good 5 minutes of those 60 minutes trying to fix it, and then now it's even more broken. So I'm gonna need a new one for the exam. For now, I'm just crossing out everything I've written wrong. I think there are 2 main challenges I've faced while writing these texts. One is holes in my vocabulary, because there are a lot of words that I passively know but couldn't come up with on the spot. Or there are some words where I would know, for example, the verb form but not the noun form, or the adjective form but not the verb form. So I couldn't use those words because I couldn't make them fit while also being sure that I'm using the right form. So I really need to broaden my vocabulary and just make sure I'm really familiar with everything that I guess I want to use. I don't know what I can do about this except just study vocabulary. The second thing is word count. I said back when I started that it's really short. It's 190 to 210 words. And it's really hard to write that short. Who knew? As I said, back in my school days, I could write as much as I wanted and they would have to mark it. But while I don't know what the rules are, I can only assume that after 210 words, they won't read the rest. I haven't counted the words exactly, but I have a feeling, or I can assume that I'm way over the word count, especially the second piece of writing. And unfortunately, I won't be able to mark this because there is no model answer and my language is not good enough to be able to mark my work, because if I were good enough, then I wouldn't be taking this exam, would I? The last paper is going to be the speaking paper, which is actually also going to be the last paper that I do, like chronologically, because it's going to be on the morning of the second day. And here is where I have more bad news. I don't think I'm going to be able to do the speaking exam on my own, especially not the parts where I'm asked questions. Or even if I can, I don't think I'll be able to mark my work or judge how well I did unless I do it with someone else, for example, on stream with my dearest Welsh-speaking audience. So here's the plan, right? For the speaking exam, I will be expected to do some preparation. In fact, the process is that I go to the exam center, I have 60 minutes to look at the questions and read what I need to read and prep everything I want to say, and then I go talk to someone for half an hour. So I'm going to prepare what I need to prepare on my own, and then I'll set up a stream where you can come and ask me questions or judge my abilities. I will show you the requirements and obviously some sample questions and so on. And so we can all crowdsource the marking and see how well I can actually speak Welsh. Obviously, if you're watching this, you will already have heard my Welsh, but you will get an invaluable opportunity to hear how I perform under stress, or how I perform when I have to talk about a specific thing that it's not under my control. So remember to subscribe now so that you will know when I set up the stream and you can join me by then. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to see me talking about how the exams work and how I started prepping for my exams, look at this video. Otherwise, in this video, I talk about what's easiest in speaking Welsh, and so you can know what isn't easy for me. For example, formal language. And if you want to support me, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.